Welcome to another edition of the brand called You. Today I have a professional turned entrepreneur, Rupak Agarwal, with me. Rupak, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Rupak is the founder of EvueMe selection robot. He's a BE honors from Chandigarh, and as he mentions, he's a silver medalist. He's from IIM Bangalore, and he's a coach. So, Rupak, tell me a little bit about your early life.
Well, I come from a typical middle-class family background, where I think that initial fundamentals of life, which is that there is no success without hard work, has been ingrained in me right from my very childhood.
Correct.
My early days have been mostly in Chandigarh. Right from class 3 till end of my engineering, I have been in Chandigarh. And then in my corporate life, have virtually done a complete Bharat Darshan.
So tell me about the 26 years of your corporate life.
Well, Ashutosh, I would say it can broadly be divided into 3 buckets. The first about 12 to 14 years was primarily handling sales, marketing, operations into various industries. Then I got into hardcore handling customer experience in a telecom industry, which is the next bucket of about 4 years. And then the last about 8 to 10 years has primarily been leading P&L with various businesses.
Okay, wonderful. So after so many years in the corporate world, what made you become an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say 3 key things. First, as you know, in MBA we are taught a product life cycle. And I thought that in that product life cycle, it was more or less, I was at the peak and started flattening. So it's like the typical S curve. And I thought that before the decline phase in a corporate world starts, let me create the next S curve for me.
Okay.
So the first 25 years has been one bucket. Can I create the next 25 years?
Okay.
So that's one. Second, I would say I wanted to do something which impacts millions of people. Solve a pain which I have personally experienced in my corporate world. And third, I wanted to be back home taking care of my ailing father.
Okay.
I thought it's my way of giving back what he has done for me.
Wonderful. That's such a noble idea. So let's talk about EvueMe. Tell me a little bit about the venture.
Let me ask you, you have been on this side of the world again. Have you ever had a situation where you ended up making a wrong choice?
Sure, many times.
Even after 3 to 5 rounds of assessments?
Happens.
Now imagine if there was a way in which all your potential candidates are ranked on all competencies required for the job. The amount of time and effort you will save. So EvueMe is your on-demand robot interviewer for your candidates, which does various kinds of assessments with them through a robot, ranks them on all competencies required for the job.
So give me an example of some
artificial intelligence.
Give me some example.
So it could be on, it's primarily the competencies are on 2 sides. One is your behavioral aspects and second is your hardcore technical skills. So behavioral could be things like his energy levels, his ability to persevere, his patience levels. So those are on the behavioral side, the soft traits. And then depending on the role that you're hiring that guy for, will be the hard skills for that role.
Okay, very interesting. And you mentioned that you use artificial intelligence for recruitment. Help me understand the process and what do you do?
Okay, so our robot, as I said, is available 24/7 for the candidates. And candidates can call on the robot and the robot will ask them questions which are recorded over video. We then look at the recorded video and do a whole lot of analytics around that, extracting text out of the words you said, your various audio features as you speak, so what we call as the prosodic features, and all your visual features, your facial expressions, your eyeball movements, we are able to extract thousands and thousands of data points, which are then analyzed using artificial intelligence and machine learning to give you ranking on various attributes of that candidate. And over a period of time, we even plan to bring predictability of his likely performance in your organization.
I see. And can you give me some examples of how it works? I mean, say I call your robot. What kind of questions will the robot ask me?
So it will depend on the role
Correct.
that the candidate is being interviewed for. So depending on the
say
role,
I'm applying for general manager of a consumer goods company.
So the questions will be a mix of checking your leadership skills, your people management skills, and your understanding of consumer durable skills.
Okay.
So you'll be sent out a link. You'll be told that this link is valid for the next 72 hours. And you can call the robot whenever you have time. So you may come back from office at 9 p.m. in the night, take a shower at 11:30 in the night, sit in front of your device, which could be a mobile device, could be a laptop, call the robot on the screen. She will come, she will explain to you the role, she will tell you what the entire process will be. She will make you comfortable interacting with her by asking you 1 or 2 practice questions.
Okay.
And then the actual interview will start. She will ask you questions. Whatever you answer gets recorded over video. She'll keep giving you expressions to give you a feel that there is another human being in a way in front of you.
I see. And the other thing that you do is that you help students find jobs. First, you're helping people find jobs, people who are experienced. And second, you help students. So tell me a little bit about this, and how do you handle the big difference?
So Ashutosh, the second part of helping students, we actually do in a strategic tie-up with the Career Launcher Group. Career Launcher Group, as you know, has huge inroads into the campus space, being in that field for over 2 decades now.
Correct.
And what we do is 2 things with them. One, we have launched a mock interview product for them, where they go to campuses. There are some brilliant people at campuses, technically very, very sound, but they just do not know how to express themselves. Okay. Their soft skills are very poor. So they train them, do mock interviews using our robot interview solution, and give those students feedback to be able to make them more expressive.
Okay.
The second thing that we've started doing now is we have realized there is a big gap in terms of recruiting students because everyone's biodata looks almost the same.
Correct.
Right? Now, how do you, as a corporate, one, go to so many campuses, number 2, figure out who are the right guys for you. So with a tie-up with them, what we do is we go to campuses and get a robot interview done for most of the students in their final year. We then rank them using our artificial intelligence on various attributes. And those are populated on a dashboard for the corporates. For example, if a corporate is looking for candidates with, say, artificial intelligence, machine learning skills, he will on our dashboard find, say, 145 colleges the guys have been picked up from. They have been rated on their coding skills. They have been rated on their analytical skills, on their logical ability skills, on their communication skills. They can, whichever parameter they want to sort the candidates on, they can. They want to change weightages that, okay, for me, coding is say 70% weightage and communication is 10% weightage and maybe something else is 20% weightage. They just slide there and you have the revised ranking of candidates available.
Okay.
They can see their recorded videos. They can dive deeper into the candidates which are looking promising and then engage with them.
Very interesting. So you're obviously then giving a huge range of potential candidates to the employers.
That's right. Idea is, can I save time of the employer? Because time, to my mind, is the most crucial resource today.
Okay.
Right? Can I save the recruiter's time to focus only on candidates who are looking promising, dive deeper into those candidates and let me weed out those processes for you which consume time but need not lead to results.
I see. Very interesting. So, Rupak, you've spent a lot of time in telecom and real estate. How has your past experience as a professional manager helped you to build EvueMe?
Well, Ashutosh, I would say telecom, for example, helped me imbibe two skills. Mm-hmm. One is how do you handle scale, and second is how do you ensure a delightful customer experience. Okay. So telecom, I've handled very large scales, almost about 50 million customers. Things will go wrong in any situation. The trick is when something goes wrong, how you still build the trust of your consumers. Let me give you an example. Many years back, this was I think somewhere in 2006 or 2007, our Mumbai office where our technical equipment is all housed. In that building, in some other office at the basement, there was a fire. And because of that, lots of our equipment got burnt and half of Mumbai was shut. Telecom services disrupted, absolute mayhem, absolute chaos. What we did? The entire top management from Airtel flew down and camped at Mumbai. They were personally communicating with all stakeholders. There was a kind of a war room set up. All large enterprise customers, very senior people from our organization were personally communicating to them. Next day morning, we came out with a first page ad in the newspaper, starting with, "We are sorry," and then explaining to them what happened. So that's how, even in that situation, how do you build the trust of your consumers? So I think what got ingrained in me in telecom was what I would call promise made, promise kept.
Okay.
Real estate, completely different ballgame. I think what it taught me was how do you deal with continuous ambiguity and large complexity. Okay. Real estate requires huge amount of approvals, almost about 50-55 approvals for getting a project off the ground.
Correct.
And you have a time commitment to make to the customer as to when you will deliver. But these are lots of uncertainties and therefore new surprises will keep springing up every day. So how do you still get business going in the face of all this ambiguity is what real estate brought in. Okay. And obviously these are very, very important learnings from an entrepreneurial journey perspective.
So one last question on EvueMe before I move to the next segment. This is the age of millennials. They're all very, very well versed with technology. How are they changing the way you do your work?
Well, you rightly said, they are virtually disrupting the way we do business. And rather they are virtually disrupting the way any organization does business. Sure. Let me talk about 2-3 things. The first I would say is the way we work, right? Millennials today believe in working smarter, not necessarily harder. Okay, right? So they would, for example, not be very comfortable traveling 1 hour to office and wasting their time. So therefore, working from home, flexi working, using lots of technology tools, collaboration tools are disrupting the way the traditional 9-to-5 office is.
Correct.
The second one I would say is these guys look at hiring in a completely different manner. What was our traditional way? There is a job vacancy on a job board, you apply. This will go through an applicant tracking system, then it will get shortlisted. Maybe someone from HR will call you. These guys don't have time for all this long drawn process, right? For them, If there is a job, why don't you engage with them straight on a chat mode on their mobile, right? Can there be a way that the hiring manager starts interacting with them directly over a video, even before they decide whether it's the right company for them to apply?
Right.
They feel, and rightly so, they are the biggest consumers.
Correct.
Is the employer re-engineering their processes to make it more candidate friendly? In the sense, is there a way I can take my initial rounds of interviews from my venue on my device at the flexibility of my time? And only when you feel that I am the right guy and I also know I'm 95% made up my mind this is the right organization, does a physical interaction take place.
Very nice.
So those are the kind of changes which are taking place.
That's
The third one I would say is, in this age of mobile world, you have to be constantly on your guards. You have to put your brand and consumer experience at the top of the pyramid.
okay.
Right? One wrong experience and you do not react on time. Make sure that you put out ways to mend it. It will be all over social media before you realize what has happened. So that's the third big change which is happening with millennials.
Wonderful. That's very well put. So let's talk a little bit about your role as a coach now. My first question is, why has coaching become so popular in our country in the last few years? Because traditionally, coaching or mentoring was done either by a senior colleague or by an elder in the family. But now suddenly, everyone I see has become a coach. What is this sudden demand for coaching that has emerged?
Well, I think it's more to do with the fact that we are one of the largest economies across the globe. We're growing extremely fast. Disruption has become an order of the day. And the role of a coach is what I would say it's a complete synthesis of business, personality development and sports. And you require that kind of rigor to take you from A to B.
Okay, well said. And when I was reading about you, you also said that you work a lot with young leaders. What are some of the challenges that you face when you work with them?
Okay, so before I answer that question, let me first try and maybe describe more in detail of what the role of a coach is.
Okay.
Right? So to me, a coach is someone who, at the very first, is your mentor. Is a person who believes in you, who can make you think of bigger goals. Then he dons on the cap of a manager, breaking down your goals into logical steps. Then he wears a third cap, which is what I would call as your personal trainer, right? Who helps you remain on track to what journey you have embarked upon. And the fourth role that he dons on is what we typically see as a sports coach. He will observe you very intently and then give you feedback to be able to improve your own game.
Okay.
So when I now work with young leaders, I primarily see that there are three areas where I help them. First is, how do I clarify their thinking? How do I make them believe that something that they are thinking of is actually possible by them to do?
Sure.
The second one is, once they have decided to embark on that journey of a bigger goal, how do I help them break that elephant into smaller, simpler, manageable pieces which can be done one at a time?
Okay.
And then the third role is, how do I help them remain focused to be able to make daily progress?
Okay. That's well said. Okay. So I'm going to ask you one more question on coaching before I move to a few personal questions. You've given some great ideas on what coaching is and what kind of steps you take. My question is in two parts. Number one, who should look for a coach? And number two, how do I evaluate if my coach is good?
Okay, so I would say who should look for a coach is anyone who wants to achieve something bigger in life,
Okay.
right? But at the same time, is willing to change, is willing to do things differently, is willing to empty his cup and give a disproportionate amount of commitment to filling that cup again in a different manner.
Okay.
To your second question as to who is a good coach, I think that comes out more from an interaction perspective. But anyone who helps you challenge your status quo,
Okay.
someone who helps you achieve what you have been thinking of for a long time is a good coach.
Okay.
For example, very recently there was a coachee who has been thinking of getting into a new business line for the last 5 years. But when the coach came in, he was able to get onto this new business line in 1.5 years.
Interesting.
There was another one who has been thinking of writing a book for the last 3 years. But he's just been thinking. When a coach came in, he was able to write 2 chapters in first 45 days.
Wonderful. So, Rupak, I've got time for a few questions for you personally. My first question is that after a very successful corporate career and then as a successful entrepreneur, are there any people who had an influence on you or your life? And if yes, what have you learned from them?
Well, I would say there are lots of people who have had influence in my life, particularly founders who've started from scratch and have built multi-billion-dollar enterprises in the last 1 or 2 decades. But closer home, I would say primarily 3 people who have influenced me greatly. First, I would say are my parents, who have ingrained in me right from my very childhood that there are no shortcuts to success. This passion to keep moving away from the ordinary and strive for the excellence has been ingrained in me right from my very childhood by my parents. The second one I would say is Sanjay Kapoor, who was the CEO of Airtel. Very, very early days of Airtel, and I still remember some conversations with him where he taught me the importance of that executive presence, that personal charisma, the confidence with which you communicate, the way you are able to put things very, very simply in front of others. What he called power dressing, which makes you feel good, oozes out that confidence and charisma in you. And the third person I would say was again a leader in Airtel, a person called Jayant Khosla, under whom I worked with. And with him I learned, or rather polished my skills on how do you really respect your team members? How do you treat them like a family circle? The concept was, at home, I will know each of my family members who is ill, who is not feeling well, who is feeling very good. Do I know to the same level of detailing of my entire first line every day? Second thing that I really polished with him was, how do you follow up with people to get work done? How do you make sure that what they commit, they are able to deliver, and you are just nudging them in a nice way, but making sure that nothing slips out of hand. So these, I would say, would be the 3 key constituents which have influenced me greatly, apart from many other leaders who have had vast impact on me.
I'm sure. So I have time for 2 more questions. One short one, a quick answer. what would be 3 words that define you?
Well, I would say I'm a structurer, very organized, methodical in my way of working. I'm able to put a structure to any chaotic environment and drive it to success. The second I would say is I'm extremely focused. I would like to compare it with our childhood example of magnifying glass. You focus the energies of the sun to burn a paper. So that's the kind of energy I'm able to put to anything to make things move.
Okay.
And third I would say is I'm very unbiased, very dispassionate in my approach. My analytical theme will challenge other people, not necessarily destroying their ideas, but making sure that the theories are very sound.
Okay, wonderful. So now I have time for just one question, but I'd request a quick answer because we're running out of time. And this question is on failure. We all fail and we learn. What have been some of your learnings from some of your mistakes or failures?
Well, I think my learning has been that irrespective of where you are in your journey, that ability to seamlessly zoom in and zoom out should never go away.
Okay.
And whatever you do, always have a plan B around it.
Okay, wonderful. So Rupak, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you and EvueMe lots and lots of success.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you for spending this time, and I really loved this interaction.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You podcast. Be sure to visit tbcy.in to join the conversation, access show notes, and discover fantastic bonus content. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Simply search for The Brand Called You. Thank you and see you next week.